The World Cup is only a matter of days away, the biggest tournament in world football, the spectacle that is the FIFA World Cup. It begins on Sunday, it's huge, it means that Celtic are on the back burner for a little bit. I know we have the Sydney Super Cup, which is exciting in itself, and some would say even bigger than the World Cup, but in terms of competitive football, Celtic won't be involved in that for quite a while. However, some of Celtic's players and former players will be, of course, present in Qatar for the biggest tournament of them all. Today, we're going to look through the players who are heading over to Qatar, looking a little bit into their national teams and such. And we're also going to look at the former Celts who are also present at the World Cup. Who have we seen play for Celtic in recent years who are representing their national team on the world stage? There is a few of those guys too. So a bit of fun, something a little bit different. Who's all excited for the World Cup then? Because do you know what? Despite all the negatives surrounding it, I kind of am. Welcome back to the channel. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to try and fly through this one today. It's an exciting one as the World Cup approaches, and Celtic players will be there representing the club on the biggest stage of them all. The eyes of the world will be watching, hopefully not to poach our players. But who will be at the 2022 World Cup? Let's start with our current players. Let's talk about their chances at the tournament and their national sides surrounding them. Some players not going though. I mean, big, sort of sadness towards the likes of Kyogo and Ryo Hatate, who, for example, haven't been picked for Japan when we all really expect them to be. But one guy who's going to be there, and we'll start off with him, is one of the Japanese boys, and he'll be leading the line for the Japanese national team. DAIZEN MAEDA heads over for Japan. He's made 8 appearances for his international side already and was picked as the only Japanese Celtic player to represent the team at the World Cup. Despite probably being the most inconsistent and criticised of the 3 main Japanese players here at Celtic, he is someone who, of course, has a really good career thus far. He's obviously just broke into the international scene with very limited appearances so far, but he was top scorer in the J-League before heading to Celtic. His stats show that he's been more than good enough here at Celtic, and he's someone who over the past couple of weeks has found goal-scoring form again, which is something that Japan will obviously want heading into this tournament. Scoring 12 and assisting 12 since joining Celtic in January of this year. He has been someone who has electrified us with his pace. His technical ability has been up for questioning sometimes, but he's someone who definitely has had a massive influence on this Ange Postecoglou Celtic side, and is something that will definitely take over to the Japanese national team. That pace will frighten the defenders in his group, and I think he's probably going to be one of the key guys in that Japan team. He's surrounded by a hell of a lot of talent. We looked at it on this channel a couple of weeks ago, a really good squad for Japan, but I think he could have a big impact for them at the World Cup, and hopefully he scores one for us while over in Qatar. This will be DAIZEN MAEDA's first World Cup, and hopefully the first of a few for him. How big an impact do you think he'll have for the Japanese national side? Let's head over to America then, because Cameron Carter-Vickers has been selected for the American national team after a fantastic year and a half with Ange Postecoglou and Celtic. He's been a real revelation for us, one of the best centre-halves I've seen at Celtic in recent memory, and more than deserving of a spot there in the American national team. He's someone who I think could be a standout for that side. If given the chances to start games, he should be one of the first names on the team sheet. No doubt about it. He has been that good for Celtic. And amongst all the hype of the Ted Lasso surroundings at America, we've seen the posters, we've seen the banners that have hyped up Cameron Carter-Vickers, and hopefully we'll see the results of that at Qatar 2022. Despite not really being American in the sense of the English accent, being born in England and, all that jazz, he very much is someone who they will rely on. I think 11 appearances already for his national side. He is someone who I think that will be so important in keeping out star strikers like Harry Kane. Obviously a tough group for America. They're going up against Wales, they're going up against England, teams who have had much success in international tournaments in recent times. He's going to be a big part of that. He's got a big job to do. Despite making his national team debut for the Americans in 2017, He's not actually performed at a World Cup. Why? Because America didn't qualify for the 2018 World Cup in Russia. So this is his first chance, just like Dyson MAEDA, to perform on the World Cup stage. A huge opportunity. Let's hope there's not too many prying eyes, because I don't imagine Cameron Carter-Vickers to have a stinker. I'd imagine he will be one of the standout performers. A £7 million move to Celtic in the summer. This is a kind of competition that could double his value, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. I want him to stay at Celtic. Nobody be watching over our Cameron, please. Let's just leave him here. He's having fun. He's very important to Ange's system, but big opportunity for him. Hope he stands out. An absolute unit of a defender, and Harry Kane has absolutely no chance. JOSIP JURANOVIC, he has been a standout player for the Croatian national side over the past year or so, and obviously been a big part of Celtic's team for the past year or so as well. Maybe not hitting the heights that he did last season so far this campaign, but there's no underestimating how good a player JOSIP JURANOVIC is, and he'll be wanting to prove that on this World Cup stage. Now, the biggest question about JURANOVIC is how long has he got here at Celtic, because there's a lot of rumours, a lot of murmurs that he could be one of the players who could leave Celtic in the very near future. A lot of people saying that after the World Cup, they suspect him to move on. Is it as quick as that? I don't know, but if he has a big tournament, which I imagine he will, you know, there will be a lot of suitors, I think, after JOSIP JURANOVIC. 21 appearances already for the Croatian national side. However, just like the first two, it is his first World Cup with them. The finalists of the 2018 competition. I think that JOSIP JURANOVIC would love to replicate that. I think he'd love to get as far as the final. Are they as strong as they maybe were back in 2018? I think that's up for a bit of discussion, but there's no denying that they're still dark horses, if you like. They're still a side with a significant amount of quality that could make it very far. You look around that team, and all you have to see is the name Luka Modric, for example, and you know the quality that they possess. And JOSIP JURANOVIC, he'll be starting games, he'll be representing Celtic, and probably the biggest aspect out of all these players, you know, in fact, it's the country with the best chances, the one that'll probably watch the most. He is the one that's going to be seen the most, you'd imagine, so a huge opportunity for him. I do feel sorry for him that he might have to share the park with Borna Barisic after how rotten he has been in recent times. But on that right-hand side, JOSIP JURANOVIC has showed against the likes of Kylian Mbappe and some of the world's best that he can hold them at an international level. So he'll be looking to certainly replicate that over the course of this tournament. How much longer will he be at Celtic if he has a good tournament? There's my question to you in the comment section. What are you thinking? Tony Ralston is someone who could get into that Croatia side at the minute, is all I'm saying, because he's arguably been the better right back at Celtic. Interestingly enough, still not scored for Croatia. I know right backs don't get a lot of goals, but someone we've seen score a few for Celtic, especially from set pieces, penalties. So if one calls upon for Juranovic, or there's a penalty shootout, you know there's someone up there, and our wee JJ, our wee fireball, that could make quite the statement. And finally, for our current crop of players, Aaron Mooy, the front man of the Australian national side, the bald face of it all. He'll be running that midfield. He's such a big part of their setup. He has been for a number of years. 53 international caps for the Socceroos. He's someone who's been there, done that, and he's no stranger to a World Cup. His move to Celtic has probably been one that's helped him a lot, actually, in preparation for this World Cup. Of course, the situation in China wasn't ideal. He missed a lot of football. And even when he first joined Celtic, he was showing a lot of signs that he had to get up to speed with playing regular football again. And I think that this move to Celtic has showed that he'll still be someone who will be called upon and used very often in this tournament. Someone who has been fantastic in recent weeks. He's really surprised a lot of Celtic fans, including myself. Such a good player with such good vision and such technical ability. I'm looking forward to watching him at this tournament, in fact. Despite making his national side debut in 2012, he has only appeared at the one World Cup. He missed 2014. He was there in 2018, but he'll sure be looking for more success than what they found at that competition. They only played 3 games in the groups. They didn't progress. 1 point against Denmark, in what was a tough group with France, Denmark and Peru. But Aaron Mooy, hoping for the best from him, the bald genius himself. Keep an eye out on him. So let's head into talking about the former Celts who are going to be at this year's competition. Guys who have played for Celtic in recent years, who have also made it along to the World Cup, that you might be interested in keeping an eye on. And there's only one nation that sees 2 former Celts play, and that is Holland. Louis van Gaal's Netherlands side have 2 former Celts involved. Who are they? Well, they're probably the players who have found the most success in their career since leaving Celtic out of this group of lads. And we'll start with the obvious one, the big one of the best players and one of the best defenders, if not the best defender, present at the tournament. It is Virgil van Dijk. Of course, the trajectory of his career has went through the absolute roof since leaving Celtic. He's won Champions Leagues, he's won the Premier League. He is the most recognisable name out of this entire list. He heads over with Holland for what is, I think, his first World Cup as well. Obviously, Holland didn't qualify in 2018. It was a massive opportunity missed for the Orange side. But Virgil van Dijk, he will be there this time around, and he's probably the key man in that Holland side. I believe he's also the captain. His next appearance will be his 50th cap for the Netherlands, and they are one of the sides who maybe don't strike you as a favourite heading into it straight away, but definitely up there with a chance of winning it all. They have a solid side surrounded by quality everywhere, and Virgil van Dijk is obviously going to be one of the guys they rely upon the most when it comes to going far in this tournament. He'll be holding the back line together, he'll be commanding them from the back as well, and we know his presence when you move up the park as well. We've seen it at Celtic. The man can smack a free kick, he can score headers, he really does have it all. He's been one of the best defenders in the world in recent times, so very exciting for him having his first World Cup. I mean, when you look at the next World Cup, when that rolls around, he'll be 35 years old. Is this the one and only chance for Virgil van Dijk to win a World Cup? Probably. Will he still be playing in the national side come that point in time? Who knows? He has kind of slipped off a little bit in recent times, but this is a huge step for him. It's a huge opportunity to show he's still one of the best in the world, and I'm sure he'll be willing to grasp that with both hands. And the trophy. And also in the Holland national side is Jeremy Frimpong, someone who left Celtic for a huge fee only, 2 years ago coming up now. He's someone who was really fun to watch at Celtic and has still been really fun to watch with his time at Bayer Leverkusen as he heads into his first major tournament with Holland. It's actually not been capped yet for the national side, but you would imagine that changes at this tournament because, simply put, Jeremy Frimpong has been one of the best fullbacks in Europe this season, and maybe even beyond this season, maybe stretching back a little bit further. He has been marvellous in that Bayer Leverkusen side. He's been one of the standout players in what has been a really tough one for them this season. They've been struggling big time, but Frimpong has continuously stood out for them. He's been such a presence moving forward. He's been scoring goals. He's been making goals. The way he can drive it forward, I think for a Holland side who typically use wing backs, he could be very, very interesting. He could be a fantastic player. You think of the likes of Malacia on the left, Frimpong on the right. That has as much ability to make goals as what normal wingers would. Fantastic combination. Still very young, 21 years of age. He'll be thrown into his first national cap, you'd imagine, and a baptism of fire. But someone who, you know, I couldn't write how well he's done since he's left Celtic, and I always knew he would, but the way that he's went on and the way that he's developed as a player in the Bundesliga has been unbelievable, and he's going to get another big move in the next few years. You know, I've heard the likes of Barcelona and Manchester United looking at him. He will be one of the best fullbacks in the world if he's not already considered that, and this World Cup stage is one for him to prove that. Unlike Virgil van Dijk, this is a player who's going to have many chances at winning a World Cup with Holland. He'll be in that team for the next, 10, 15 years, so not as much pressure on him as there maybe is Virgil van Dijk, but I'm certainly imagining him as a guy who wants to win. He won, 3 major honours with Celtic in such a brief stint at the club. So, yeah, can he go and do something huge at this World Cup? I think he's going to be one of the players to watch at this tournament. Timothy Weah, there's a name for you. Did you remember he was a Celtic player? Did he just slip your mind? Maybe he did. But he's at the World Cup. He will be joining Cameron Carter-Vickers in the American national side as one of the forward guys who could be one of the surprise players at this tournament. 25 caps already for the American national side with 3 goals. He's currently playing with Lille over in France. He's someone that a lot of Celtic fans were, of course, upset to see go in the way that he did. We only had him on loan, but we never got to see, the fruits of that loan deal. We never got to see the complete package, I would say, with Timothy Weah. When Neil Lennon came in and he took charge of the side, he fell out of favour and we ended up terminating the loan a lot quicker than what was meant to have actually happened. And ever since then, he's went on and made a right good go of it in his professional career. Only making 6 appearances so far this season in Ligue 1. It's probably not went the way that he would have wanted it to, but he's certainly showed how good a player he can be since he got that £10 million move from PSG. And I think for America, he's probably one of their most talented players when you look at the forwards that they have as options. And when I say he could be one of the surprise players, we know what skills and attributes he possesses. The pace he had was frightening. He can certainly score goals if given the opportunity. And I think that he's someone that when you're playing against an England side who might have 5 at the back, and you're playing against a Wales side who might be slightly more defensive at times too, he can certainly carve through the team. He will be able to cause problems. So I'm looking forward to seeing what WEAH Team OLIVIER does at this competition. It could be one of the surprise packages in the group stages. Jackson Irvine. Yes. Did you remember he was a Celtic player? Or did you have to be reminded the other day when he turned up in that absolute drip? I'm not even going to talk about Jackson Irvine as a player for a moment. I want to talk about Jackson Irvine, the man. And that is, in that photo of him, in that retro Mark Viduka Celtic top, with the moustache and the long hair, the tattoos, the vibes, is all the man I could ever dream of being. But he heads over to the World Cup to represent Australia. He's had a lovely time with St. Pauli over in the Zweite Bundesliga. And he's also the captain over there. So he's made a pretty good going of it since he left Scotland. Of course, he left Hibs not too long ago. But he's been doing well. And St. Pauli have been a side who've performed really well over the past couple of years. They've been unlucky, in fact. But now a big chance to go and be on the biggest stage of them all. He didn't make many appearances for Celtic. Let's just cut to the chase. He made, I think, 1 professional appearance in his time with the club. But, you know, on the flip side of that, just like with Virgil van Dijk, his next appearance for Australia will be his 50th cap. So he's very experienced playing in that national setup. He's someone who I think the fans love as well. He's got that personality, that character about him. And on the park, he's a real leader of a character as well. You know, captaining St. Pauli, a club in the German second division. You know, it's a competitive league, and you need a real character to kind of do that for you in the dressing room. He's had a decent enough career as well. Spent a long time, of course, with Hull City for a while. But I'm looking forward to seeing him just purely because of the way he rocked up. And obviously, a lot of Celtic fans now with the Australian connection. You know, I would like to see them do well, and he's a real driving factor in that. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jackson Irvine at this competition. He actually started his international career with Scotland. He was playing for the Scotland under-19s, but switched obviously over to Australia very quickly after that. He was also involved in the 2018 World Cup. He didn't play as many minutes as Aaron Mooy, but he did feature in all 3 of the group games for brief cameos. This time round, I think he'll want more than cameos, and I hope he gets more than cameos. We deserve to see that moustache in all of its glory. So best of luck to Jackson, best of luck to Australia. Hopefully they can cause a massive upset at this competition. And finally, the last former Celt to be involved at the 2022 World Cup is one that surprised me and has surprised many others, and to this point you might still not know that he's going. And that is Olivier NTCHAM. Yes, no, he's not going for France. He's going with Cameroon. Little did I know that he was representing Cameroon at an international level until the squad list was announced very, very recently. He has made 2 caps, 2 appearances, I believe, for Cameroon as well already. So this is news to me, but he will be there. Made his debut with the Cameroonian national side in September of this year, but heads over to represent them on a major tournament, for the first time. Someone who's split a lot of opinion at Celtic for his inconsistencies, but has found a little bit of form since leaving Celtic with Swansea in the English Championship since then. He's got 5 goals and 2 assists already this season for a central midfielder. Not a bad return, and he could be one of the key guys in that Cameroon side. Of course, I think everybody wants to see the African nations do well. They have such a party when they go. Their fans are electric, and I would love to see Olivier NTCHAM do well with Cameroon over in this tournament. What'll happen though, a surprise that he's even there. So maybe he'll surprise us while he's there. Who knows? Olivier NTCHAM, ladies and gentlemen. And that's it. There you go. There's all the Celts and the former Celts that will be heading to Qatar this week to take part in the world's biggest competition. I wish the best of luck to all of them. All of the 5 former Celts as well. Lovely enough guys. Some of them contributing more than others at their time at the club, but I hope to see them all do well. And of course, our current Celts that are going, I want to see do the best they can. Hopefully, you know, show that we have quite a good team here at Celtic. You know what I mean? Anyway, if you've enjoyed, like and subscribe. Something a little bit different today. And I'll see you all next time.